Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome, everyone. It's great to be back here today with all of you. Let us, in the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, one with Jesus Christ, recognize that it is by God's grace and by Kyoshu-sama's permission that we are allowed to be gathered here today, holding this study, receiving the sacred words of Kyoshu-sama, Masaaki-sama, and Meishu-sama, to receive God's true will in the fulfillment of our mission here on earth. Before we begin our study today, I'd like to take this moment to express our gratitude to all those who have joined the sponsorship program, who are supporting us through this program with a monthly commitment to bring this message to as many people as possible. I'd like to also thank all those who are participating in other ways, supporting us in different ways as well as monetarily, not necessarily through the sponsorship program. It is with the support and the commitment of each one of you that we are able to bring this message to as many people as possible. For all of you who would like to join, would like to be able to contribute in some way to get this gospel of salvation to as many people as possible, you can join our sponsorship program very easily by going to our website, worldchurchofmessiahusa.org, and looking for the tab sponsorship program and sign up there at the bottom of the page. Or you can visit the link in the description of this video at the end of the study, as well as scanning the QR code that you will find here once the video loops around. You can scan that QR code with your phone if you're watching from your TV or from your computer. It's a great way to really fund projects, right, that allow us to bring this gospel of salvation to the world, right? We have a huge mission, and your participation is crucial in bringing this joyful gospel, this wonderful message to the world. So don't hesitate, sign up today. I'd like to thank all of you who will be signing up in advance also for that, right? So without further ado, let us begin our study with the World Church of Messiah Canon. World Church of Messiah Canon. With great fear of God, we acknowledge that the Lord God is our true Father, the one and only God. We revere Meishu-sama as the model for all humanity and as our own example to follow. Meishu-sama, who was born anew, the true child of God, the Messiah, by receiving the divine will that God accomplished in heaven. We believe that Jesus Christ, who 2,000 years ago embodied the name of Messiah, the name most holy and high, is serving the Lord God in unity with Meishu-sama. We regard the messages of Kyoshu-sama, who reveals to us the will of Meishu-sama in this material world, as the sole, absolute, and irreplaceable foundation in advancing our mission here on earth. Words of prayer. God, I acknowledge that you are alive. Within me, you are alive. I thank you for nurturing me to be newly born as your child. May this blessing be shared with all. In the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, I surrender myself to you. Please use me as you wish. Thank you so much. So as always, before our study, our reading, we usually post some Instagram posts. If you haven't joined this Instagram page for our mother church in Japan, please do so. You just look up a World Church of Messiah on Instagram. Page is available in English, it's available in Portuguese, but it's a great way to on a daily basis, unite our hearts with Kyoshu-sama under one stoning, receiving the sacred words of Kyoshu-sama, Masaaki-sama, sacred words of Meishu-sama, Nidai-sama, Sadai-sama, Bible, all here in this one place. And we can do that on a daily basis. So if you don't follow the page yet, please do so. Also, another way that you can contribute is by sharing these posts. Don't be shy. This message needs to reach the entire world, and you can be a part of that just by clicking that share button. All right. So make it available to your friends, to your family. So today I chose a few posts here from Instagram that I like to read with you. It goes a while back. This was back from January 31st, and it comes from the book of Romans in the Bible. And in the book of Romans, um, Romans 8:6, we have the following: the mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is death. The mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. The second post, we have the following. Actually, a continuation from that. And it says, the mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. And the third one that we have reads as follows: those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. And the reason I chose these here today, I believe that this is a great self check for us to see where we are, what's governing our decisions, what's governing our day to day. Are we being led by the flesh, by our desires, by our own will? Are we seeking our happiness first, or are we seeking to please God? Right? And this is not meant so that we can judge one another, but really to look at ourselves. I think that we've all been down this road, right? Without exception, of being governed by the flesh, right? And being allowed to return from that, right? But as we saw on the second post here, it reads, the mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. And you can think, no, that's not me. I never did that, right? But as we can see from what happened within our church, I think we at one point or another all went down that path. And thanks to God's grace, thanks to Kyoshu-sama's sense of righteousness, we're being led back to the true path, right? To the path where we are governed by the Spirit. And, this reminded me of reading this, reminded me of this posture that we had when reading Masaaki-sama's sacred word on Meishu-sama's birthday service in 2021, where Masaaki-sama shows us that, this hostility toward God, I believe, right? Where he says, as human beings, acts like secretly following people are wrong. If you don't understand that, it's over. If we are that ignorant, doesn't it go to show how much we have been believing in a pseudo truth, an untruth up until now? In another hymn, he says, and he's talking about Meishu-sama, right? In another hymn, he says, know this, my followers, the key to true faith is to pay due respect to others. And Masaaki-sama continues, he says, the center in this physical world, in Sekai Kyuseikyo, that we must pay due respect to is Kyoshu-sama. Through this hymn, Meishu-sama is teaching us that to pay due respect to Kyoshu-sama is actually related to our faith also. If you cannot pay due respect to Kyoshu-sama, it is impossible to pay due respect to God. Naturally. If you favor this Kyoshu, but not that one, based on self-serving reasons, you will never be able to pay due respect to God, will you? Through these sacred words, right, that we see in this sacred word delivered on Meishu-sama's birthday service in 2021, we can see the extreme that we went to, right? We ended up not being able to pay due respect to God, right? Because we couldn't do that with Kyoshu-sama. It led to the point that our fellow, at that time, church members, right, ended up taking this form of secretly following, wiretapping, blackmailing Kyoshu-sama, as we saw, right? And this is now seems obvious, right? But we're not for Kyoshu-sama's sense of righteousness to stand up and to wake us up from that. Look at the path where we were going, right? We were leading a path governed by the flesh, governed by our conveniences, by our preferences, seeking a human happiness, human peace, not God's happiness, not to please God, right? So I found this really amazing, right, for us to be able to do that self check on a constant basis. What is governing my mind right now? Is it the flesh, or am I being governed by the spirit? And the only way to really be governed by the spirit is to follow Kyoshu-sama, right? To receive that sacred word from Kyoshu-sama with an open heart and follow in this path that Meishu-sama has opened for us so that we can learn to truly please God. Right? So, with this in mind today, I like to read Masaaki-sama's message number 17, the video message number 17, the transcript for it. We follow Meishu-sama, not a human being. March 2023. So we do have the video available. You can watch the video. It's also available in the description of this study. You can access that and share. Let's share this with as many people as possible. Let us wake up from this illusion that we've been living in, right, to the true path of Meishu-sama. So here, Masaaki-sama, he shares with us. When the purification of the church began, some people claimed that they follow Meishu-sama, not a human being. This way, they were trying to persuade themselves that it was okay to oust Kyoshu-sama from the church. I think many of us, making a quick stop here, right? Many of us remembered that period. It wasn't very long ago, right? When the split happened. And this was a common thing that was being said. I follow Meishu-sama, not a human being. Therefore, I don't need to hear what Kyoshu-sama is saying. I don't need to know what's going on, right? And use this as an excuse, right, to close themselves up and, as Masaaki-sama is sharing here, persuade themselves that it was okay to oust Kyoshu-sama from the church. The extreme that we got ourselves to, right? Masaaki-sama continues. Well, first of all, if you do not want to follow human beings, you should not belong to any religious organizations, because any organization, any church is run by human beings. Physically speaking, Meishu-sama is not on earth now. That means every single one of us, without exception, is connected to Meishu-sama through someone, through human beings. The question we should really be asking, and actually the only question there is through who do you want to be connected to Meishu-sama? And here, there are only two answers. It is either through Kyoshu-sama or through executive directors of your religious organization. If you don't like either of the answers, then go ahead and quit being a member of the church. For those who are with Kyoshu-sama right now, they are connected to Meishu-sama through Kyoshu-sama. For those who are not with Kyoshu-sama, they are connected to Meishu-sama through the executive directors of that church. Everybody follows Meishu-sama. Through who do you follow him? That's the question. I don't think I need to remind you that those executive directors ordered, carried out, or approved of the acts of secretly following and filming Kyoshu-sama and his wife, along with bugging their conversations, acts that true followers of Meishu-sama would never, ever approve of. So the truth is that those who are with the church without Kyoshu-sama and with executive directors are actually not connected to Meishu-sama at all, nor are they following Meishu-sama. I mean, do they really believe that Meishu-sama would ever approve of acts like bugging conversations or secretly filming someone? They're fooling themselves. Seriously. Now, those of you who still insist on saying that you follow Meishu-sama, not a human being, and deny the existence of Kyoshu-sama, what are you going to do about the places that Kyoshu-sama consecrated to be sacred grounds? The sacred grounds that were constructed after Meishu-sama's ascension could be called sacred grounds only because Kyoshu-sama consecrated them. This is a fact. Without Kyoshu-sama's consecration, no given place can be called a sacred ground. Without his or her consecration, it would just be some land with no connection to Meishu-sama. I think this is a crucial point, right? That we need to really stop and reflect on. Many people say, I'm going to the sacred grounds, I'm going to the sacred grounds, to those places that were consecrated by Kyoshu-sama, not recognizing that it is only sacred, as Masaaki-sama is sharing here, because they were consecrated by Kyoshu-sama. That's what makes it sacred. If you no longer have that, if you don't longer have Kyoshu-sama at that core, no longer sacred, is it? And he continues. So, to those of you who still claim that you follow Meishu-sama, not a human being, and still convince yourselves that it is okay not to have Kyoshu-sama, I say this is just suicide. By your own words and attitude, you are denying the sacredness of your very own sacred grounds. You are just deceiving yourselves in thinking that that place is sacred, when in fact its sacred is now completely gone. What are you going to do about your ohikaris and divine scrolls? You are not new to the church. And if you have been a follower of Meishu-sama for, say, more than 5 years, your ohikari and divine scroll were consecrated by the current Kyoshu-sama, Yoichi Okada, before he was kicked out from the church 5 years ago. On top of that, most of the divine scrolls at your local churches were also consecrated by the current Kyoshu-sama. If you are okay with this Kyoshu-sama being bugged, secretly filmed, and kicked out of the church, why don't you also throw away the ohikari you are wearing now and get a new one? Why don't you throw away your divine scroll you hang at your home and get a new one? I mean, that's basically what you have done, right? By saying you follow Meishu-sama, not a human being, you convinced yourself that it was okay to do away with Kyoshu-sama. You didn't know this? Yes, you heard me correctly. After they kicked Kyoshu-sama out, they placed a new Kyoshu by the name of Nobuyuki Watase and changed his name to Nobuyuki Okada. What a surprise. I now have a new uncle whose name is Nobuyuki Okada. I don't recall giving my blessing for him to join our family. Stopping for a second here, right? Because this is really crucial. I think we have to stop and reflect. And many people are not aware that this took place, right? Or many people hear that, oh, they have Kyoshu-sama and his name is Nobuyuki Okada, thinking he's connected to Meishu-sama in some way. But that's not even his real name. His real name is Nobuyuki Watase. And he was just put there, right? With no authority to work as Kyoshu, right? Without the spiritual permission of Meishu-sama, of God, to represent Meishu-sama, no blood ties whatsoever with Meishu-sama, not inheriting Meishu-sama's will, and is being recognized as a Kyoshu. And many people aren't aware of this truth. And it's such a blessing to have Masaaki-sama shine light on this lie that's being perpetuated so people can wake up to this truth. Masaaki-sama continues. You who belong to Sekai Kyusei, your spiritual leader is Nobuyuki Okada, who has nothing to do with Meishu-sama. If you can't see the absurdity of this, I need to conclude that you were not a follower of Meishu-sama in the first place. Make no mistake, some people seem to believe that Kyoshu-sama left the church of his own accord. What nonsense! Sekai Kyusei secretly followed him, bugged his conversations, and kicked Kyoshu-sama out from the church on the basis that Kyoshu-sama had a Christian friend and that Kyoshu-sama was making our church too Christian. At this moment, I am not going into how it was actually Meishu-sama who wanted our church to be closer to Christianity. Do some research on your own, and you'll know the truth. I just wonder, from when exactly did our church become a group of antichrists? Now, just making a quick pause here, because it wasn't until this was so clearly expressed in words by Masaaki-sama that I could realize what a blessing and protection we have received. We literally were walking on a path to become a group of antichrists, rejecting the very truth of Christ and the truth of God and the truth of Meishu-sama, covering it up and keeping that from the world. And we are so blessed to have this sense of righteousness from Kyoshu-sama, as Masaaki-sama has been showing us, to wake up from this path that we were headed in, this dead end, this cliff that we were about to fall off of. Right? And to that, I am eternally grateful. I don't know about those who are not following Kyoshu-sama at the moment and who don't want to read this message, but I can say that I am truly grateful, right, to be able to awaken to this truth, to where we were headed and how far away we were from Meishu-sama, how we were saved through Kyoshu-sama, through Kyoshu-sama's sense of righteousness, right? Here I could feel this deep love, right, of Kyoshu-sama to bring back as many people as possible to the true path of Meishu-sama, right? Back to the real path that we're supposed to be on. And there's no way that you can say it's not that, right? Because literally that's what happened, right? Because Kyoshu-sama had a Christian friend, because Kyoshu-sama was studying the Bible, that was used as an excuse to remove Kyoshu-sama, the very core of our church, to think that you were removing Kyoshu-sama from the church. Masaaki-sama continues. Meishu-sama composed the following hymn. No matter how great the work of the Almighty God is, He accomplishes it through the bodies of humans. He saves people through us. Even the work of Meishu-sama is to be accomplished through human beings. Isn't this just common sense? For those of you who say you follow Meishu-sama, not a human being, what are you going to say about this hymn of Meishu-sama? And listen to what Nidai-sama says. After Meishu-sama made his ascension, it is not as if he went to a faraway place. He is right here with me, He is right here on the holy seat of Kyoshu. He assumes my position and instructs all of you through me. Nidai-sama also says, now that he has ascended, Meishu-sama's soul is always well attached to me. He's always behind me. Know this, everyone. What I say is what Meishu-sama says. The direction that I indicate is the direction that Meishu-sama indicates. For anyone who cannot stand listening to it, Meishu-sama has no other choice but to cut their ties. Their fate is to naturally leave the church. But I earnestly pray that this does not happen. Notice what Nidai-sama is sharing here with us, right? Kyoshu-sama is the center of the church, is the church. Right? For anyone who cannot stand listening to this, Meishu-sama has no other choice but to cut their ties. In other words, you can't remove Kyoshu-sama from the church. You can only remove yourself from the church. Because to follow Kyoshu-sama is to be a member of the church. Masaaki-sama asks, right? Nidai-sama is so clear in what she says, isn't she? What I'm getting at is that for our church, Kyoshu-sama was, is, and always will be Meishu-sama. That's why we were able to carry out religious activities until today, while receiving blessings from the Kyoshu-sama of any given time. That's why we were able to call certain places sacred grounds, minister Jorei wearing ohikari, and pray in front of the divine squirrel. All these things were consecrated by Kyoshu-sama. Many people try to separate, right, Kyoshu-sama from Meishu-sama. I received blessings from Meishu-sama. I received blessings because I was serving at that church. This is the church I knew. This is what I grew up in. But look, as Masaaki-sama is sharing here, Kyoshu-sama was, is, and always will be Meishu-sama. That's why we were able to carry out religious activities until today, while receiving blessings from the Kyoshu-sama of any given time. There is no Kyoshu-sama, there is no blessings. There is no permission to have sacred grounds, to have ohikari, to do anything. Right? All these things were consecrated by Kyoshu-sama. Are we aware what it means for Kyoshu-sama to consecrate all these things? This also reminds me of sacred words of Sandai-sama that were also posted in the church Instagram a while back. And it reads as following: everyone, put all your focus solely on Kyoshu-sama. From there, you can receive the blessings for the path all of you are going to take. This is what I wish. Sandai-sama. This was in Sandai-sama's message for the New Year message, January 1st, 1986. For all those who say the church is different now with this Kyoshu-sama are completely mistaken, right? This goes all the way back to Meishu-sama's time. But here, Sandai-sama clearly is sharing this, as we see in the sacred word of Sandai-sama and Masaaki-sama, in the video message of Masaaki-sama. Everyone, put all your focus solely on Kyoshu. From there, you can receive the blessings for the paths all of you are going to take. This is what I wish. Masaaki-sama continues. To follow Kyoshu-sama is to follow Meishu-sama. That is, to follow Meishu-sama is to follow Kyoshu-sama. If some people say they follow Meishu-sama, not a human being, and do not belong to the church where Kyoshu-sama is, They are just fooling themselves. They are not following Meishu-sama. They are simply following an image of Meishu-sama they conveniently created. They are just following a ghost named Meishu-sama they conveniently created. In short, those of you who are allowed to say, I follow Meishu-sama, not a human being, are those who are now in the church where Kyoshu-sama stands. And just making a quick pause here also. Right? I think one point that's very important for us as followers of Meishu-sama to reflect on is that we are allowed to say, I follow Meishu-sama, not a human being. That means without Kyoshu-sama's permission, without Kyoshu-sama's recognition as a member, we are not allowed to say that. We can't self-declare ourselves followers of Meishu-sama, right? We can pretend we want to follow Meishu-sama. We can say we follow Meishu-sama, but if we are not where Kyoshu-sama is, there is no way that we are permitted to call ourselves followers of Meishu-sama. It's a huge blessing and permission to be able to be a follower of Meishu-sama. Don't take it for granted. Masaaki-sama continues. You who follow the church with Kyoshu-sama, follow Meishu-sama. You who follow the church without Kyoshu-sama, follow executive directors. That is, you follow human beings whose ties with Meishu-sama have been cut. Know this, everyone. What Kyoshu-sama says is what Meishu-sama says. The direction that Kyoshu-sama indicates is the direction that Meishu-sama indicates. For anyone who cannot stand listening to it, Meishu-sama has no other choice but to cut your ties. Your fate is to naturally leave the church. But Kyoshu-sama earnestly prays that this does not happen to you. And making a quick pause here. Right? Again, we can feel this great love of Kyoshu-sama, tirelessly reaching out to every single person to truly become a true follower of Meishu-sama, to wake up from that path that they're headed in, that dead end, that cliff that they're headed towards, right? And come back to the true path. Many who have their hearts closed, their ears closed, reject this message, right? Get irritated by it. But for those who have opened their hearts, you can see this true love and care that Kyoshu-sama has for each one of us. Praying, earnestly praying that our ties with Meishu-sama are not cut. If that is not reason to be grateful, I have no idea what is. Right? Masaaki-sama continues. They thought that they would stop the power of Messiah and the spread of Meishu-sama's truth by getting rid of Kyoshu-sama. How naive they were. Our work has just begun, and it is only going to get stronger and stronger day by day. So, receiving this message, it's truly a powerful message. And my hope, my wish is that we share with our families, we share it with our friends, both those who now follow Meishu-sama truly by following Kyoshu-sama, being in the church where Kyoshu-sama stands. To also those who believe they're following Meishu-sama, but are just following this convenient image of Meishu-sama. Let's share and awaken to the true meaning of what it means to follow Meishu-sama, the true meaning of who Kyoshu-sama is, so that we can serve in this path where Masaaki-sama shows here that this power of God and this work of God is only getting stronger and stronger day by day. We are truly blessed to be on this path. And I think our way to show God our gratitude is to tirelessly share the sacred words of Kyoshu-sama, of Masaaki-sama, with as many people as possible. To be able to serve in this path that God has laid out for us. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us today. Um, I'd share, watch, over and over again the actual message, Masaaki-sama, the recorded message, and let us serve in this path of light, as Masaaki-sama states, right? This path of glory, and bring as many people as possible back to God, to be born anew as children of God. May all glory, may all honor be returned to God always. Thank you.